I am so excited to have another conversation with a certified brain game coach amongst numerous other magical abilities and modalities. Arlene, welcome. Thank you for having this conversation with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what life was like before you ever took the brain game.
Mm. So I took the brain game after I took Mindshift. And
Hmm.
so what I loved about that is so with Mindshift, it was all about the energy of things, and taking brain game afterwards allowed for me to like settle things into place. And so I love the brain game because brain game for me is practical spirituality.
Oh, I love that. Practical spirituality. Yeah. Because it does give you those tangible tools to use along the way, along your journey, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. So after you took brain game, I mean, you had mind shifted, of course, so everything had already shifted for you. But I'm curious, what kind of results did you see for yourself after brain gaming?
After brain game allowed for me to quickly settle the trigger, if that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really brought me into this place of allowing for me to live forgiveness.
Ooh, yeah.
And so it became a walking meditation for me,
Mm.
and allowed for me just to shift really quickly in the moment.
I love that. The walking meditation, that's kind of the language I use all the time is living and breathing the brain game.
Yeah,
It's not about, oh, which tool do I need right now? But you actually embody it and it just becomes a part of who you are.
you become the tool. You're a tool.
You're a tool. It's the kind of tool I like to be. It's
Right?
good.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us, what is it that you love the absolute most about the brain game?
Mm. I love that it teaches you and it walks you through a process. And so
Mm,
really what it is allowing for you to do is walk through and flow through life so that you can embody flow in your life.
yeah.
And so it's really the underlying energy of this is you're a creator,
Mhm.
and this is how you create
Yeah.
practically.
Practically. Exactly.
Practically. Yeah. So I find it's extraordinary. I love the teaching of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on that note, what inspired you to become a brain game coach?
Ah, well, so it past prior to this, I was an NLP coach, a hypnotherapist teacher. I did all of those things, but the process itself was so complicated. And in the process, we were diving into, okay, what did your mom do? What did your dad do? What we were searching for the problem,
Mhm.
and it was it was lengthy, and it was hard, and it was painful. And in discovering this, it was so simple, it was so simplified. It was a 10-week journey, and you knew where you were going. And in this process, it really allows for the student, the client, to land into deeper trust with their own intuition. It's
Yes.
an empowerment tool, right? And
Yes.
so I love that, and I believe that that's something that humanity requires, right? This is
Mhm.
step one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always seen that as the step one, and then learn about the other things beyond that and go where you want to go, right? I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, brain game's like the gateway in. It's the gateway drug.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your experience like in brain game boot camp and learning to become a coach?
Oh
Not
man.
a coach, a brain game coach.
Right. It was oh, can you feel me? Your stuff rises up because here you are, and I don't want to say that it's a pressure cooker, but the way that it's taught, and that you're taught, and then you're teaching. You're taught and you're teaching. And so you get the wisdom, or you get the learning, you experience it, you gain the wisdom. You get the learning, you experience it, you get the wisdom. And so it's like this movement. And at the same time, you're also learning the capacity of your own energy. And so now you're holding space for others. And
Hmm.
so energetically, you're holding the container and you're feeling them
Hmm.
as they shift, and you're shifting too. And so it's a brilliant process, truly brilliant, because in other containers that I've been in, it's been, okay, here's the teaching, go do it.
Right.
And there's no support.
Right.
Here, you're fully supported every single step of the way with possibility playgrounds, with readings, with all of the things that will help to break you through to the next step. So it's really beautiful.
I love how you describe that, because I think that's one of my favorite pieces of boot camp is the teaching it and learning to teach it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's, let's just throw you in the deep end of the pool and you're going to learn how to swim, and yet still be supported all along the way.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you're the floaty.
From your water wings.
Right?
I love that. So remind yourself and us, what was it like teaching the very first session of Brain Game?
Man, I was so nervous in the beginning. And then the more that I dove into it, the more I fell in love, the more I fell in love, the more I fell in love, the more I fell in love. And then at the end, the response from everyone was like, oh my God, I love that. And wow, I didn't know that in this way. And oh my God, I love how you brought in the mind and what's happening in the mind and this and that and all of the things. And so you receive so many different layers of what's happening in the body, what's happening in the emotions, what's happening in the brain, what's happening in our morphogenic field. And people are wowed.
Mm-hmm.
Because you discover that you're more than what you see.
Yes.
Just in the first session.
Just in the first session.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. I've had so many students come back and say, wow, like I feel like a changed person just from week one. And I'm like, yeah, and you're just getting started. That's right. The beauty of it.
Yeah.
I love that.
So good.
So you walk them through this 10-week journey and you help them shift. You're feeling them shift. You're shifting at the same time. Mm-hmm. You get to week 10. What was it like teaching week 10 your very first time around?
Week 10 was actually a relief. Not a relief, but not a relief in I'm done. It was like this, I guess it was a settling. Like everyone just kind of settled in. Right. And they got to observe their 10-week journey, and they got to see that they weren't the same people.
Yeah.
And they got to see that they had changed and that the relationships have changed and the relationship to things have changed. And so it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Every week 10, you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave. And yet it's such an honoring and a celebration of the journey and the transformation that you've gone through. And I think that's why we don't want to leave. I mean, even at the end of a live event on the last day, nobody wants to leave because you've had such a profound experience with each other in that container.
Yeah. It's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to be in that feeling.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to leave the feeling. I love it.
Yeah.
So there's not only are you teaching it and learning to teach it and walking yourself through a shift, there's also business training in the boot camp. What was that like for you?
I loved that. There were some things that I wasn't doing. So it was a beautiful reminder of things that I could add into my own process. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it was a beautiful melding of, okay, here you are and you're doing the things. And when it started to come in, it was like, oh, I was making it so hard. And I forgot that piece there. And I forgot that piece there. And so it really simplified the business. And I love to think of it as, Brain Game certification is just, it's a business in a box, literally.
Yeah.
Right. Including a website.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, can it be that simple?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's what I love about the business training is it gives you everything you need. It simplifies it. It allows you to do it your way so that you're not cookie cutter, but you also have all the tools that you need, and it cuts out all the excuses.
Right.
You can't make excuses anymore as to why you can't have a business. You've got everything you need.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have the ongoing support.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful as well. So I think it's a beautiful the entire thing is a beautiful process. Right? Yeah.
Okay. I love it. In the words of Arlene, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
What is it about teaching the brain game that makes you passionate? Why are you passionate about teaching it?
I'm passionate about teaching it because it allows for other people or for your clients to become empowered to know when the time for healing is. Does it make sense? So it stops them from chasing the problems and stops them from going into the past. And it allows for them to come into a deeper presence of, okay, here I am. And what am I observing in the mirrors? Yes. And how am I feeling in this moment? And I can just shift. Yeah. And allow the aha or the epiphany or the awareness to come through so that I could just break through it. Like it's,
you don't have to sit in the muck for days, weeks, months, years.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm over the muck. I don't like the muck.
I love the lotus flower. And I'm done with the muck. I'm done being in it. I prefer to allow to let go of the resistance. I feel like this is what this is, right? We resist, we love to hold on because we're used to it, but then we understand that the body is what's wanting it, right? And so that deeper understanding of what's happening in the body really is helpful for others, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've had several rounds of brain game that you've taught. I'm curious, what are some of the results that you've seen from your clients?
So I had one client that wanted to love herself more and discovered in that journey of love a deepening in her value and started to receive money in all of these different places and gifts. Like she would open a door and there'd be a gift.
I love that.
Right. I had another client that came in and her intention was to leave the country, to leave Canada. And we moved through it and she's now booked and she's leaving for Mexico. And right. And so just moving through even the disentangling from, she has a child here, she's got a business here, all of those things. And it was a seamless shift for her.
Right.
After week 6.
Right. Yes. After week 6. Yes.
Yeah. And so beautiful experiences like that.
I love that so much. And, one of the things that stands out to me the most is that no matter what it is that you want out of life, you set the intention and you go on a 90-day journey and you get the results if you play the game. Right. And so you've described, I want to love myself more. And all of a sudden gifts show up. I want to skip the country and move somewhere else. Easy peasy after week 6. I love that. That's so good. So you've got, you mentioned this earlier, you've got a lot of different modalities and a lot of letters behind the name per se, certifications and things.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you use some of those other modalities in your teaching of brain game? Do you mold those together? Have you left some of them behind? I'm curious how that fits within your work.
I brought in numerology. And I brought in timeline shifting.
Yeah.
And so after week 5, I invited them into the numerology. And I also did a possibility playground for them to come into. And so after week 5 is when I started to play with the timeline shifting.
Yeah. I love that. Beautiful. Yeah. So what would you say to anyone who is considering either taking the brain game for the first time or who has maybe taken the brain game and is considering becoming a coach?
What would I say to them?
Yeah.
For someone that's coming into brain game for the first time, your life won't be the same.
Ain't that the truth?
Right? And right, quick shift. Days isn't long.
Nope.
And it begins on day 1, right? And for anyone that is thinking about coming into brain game certification, it's a business in a box. And so if you are willing to allow for the simplicity in a business, and you are in service to others in the world, then this is the space to be.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Arlene, for coming and having this conversation. I always love talking about brain game. You know that about me. What is your dream for brain game?
What is my dream for brain game? I would love to see brain game in schools. Yes. I would love to see brain game for children. I would love for children to have this awareness.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that's
none of this waiting until you're 40 to figure it out.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you are not the only one who shares that vision. And thank you for having that vision, because it's happening. We're building it. And I think, I always say this, if I'd had this information when I was 16 years old, my life would have looked a lot different. Right. And I don't regret anything that I've done in my life at all. But to put this tool in the hands of our children and our youth, every time it makes me want to cry.
Right.
So powerful. That's how we change the world.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much, Arlene. For anyone who is curious about Arlene and working with Arlene in a deeper way, we'll make sure that you have a link to get a hold of her. And for anybody wanting to become a certified brain game coach, just reach out to me. Those links will be there below or beside or somewhere around this video.
Just say yes.
Thanks, Arlene.
Thank you. Love you.